In this video, we're going to discuss the process of taking abstract OpenStreetMap data and turning it into something that we can use. So thus far we've talked about nodes, ways, and relations. And we'll call that our data. And the final result that we want, our result, let's say it's a printed map. But it could just as easily be an image file or a web page. All right, but just for our example, let's say that we want a printed map. All right. So how do we get from where we have what we have now, which is our abstract data, to a printed map? Well, let's think about this for a minute. We've got our nodes, which are points. We've got our ways, which are collections of points, right, or lines. And we've also said that closed ways are areas. So we can think about these points and lines and areas as geometric objects. Right, just the same way we learned about maybe when we were in school, we talked about when they talked about points and triangles and squares. So we know that we can represent this data geometrically, but how do we actually go from these abstract data structures in OpenStreetMap to a printed map? Well, we need a program that can take this data and run some kind of process against it and come up with the result. Well, that process of turning the abstract data into the result is called rendering. And the program that we use to run this, to do this process, is called a renderer. So we need data. Oops. Plus a renderer to get our result. Well, there's one more piece we need here, which is we haven't told the computer really how we want the map to look. So, when we think about a map, it's not just a uniform collection of points, right, or lines. Usually there's some kind of style to it. So for example, large roads that are heavily used or that have lots of lanes tend to be thicker. The lines tend to be thicker on the map than say smaller lanes or bike lanes. So let's make this practical. So let's say we have two ways, Main Street, two roads, Main Street and Elm Street. So Main Street and Elm. And Main Street, we're not going to worry about all the tags and everything, but we will say that it's a primary road. So this is a primary, and this is a residential. So let's say we want our primary road to be thick, and we want the name of the road to be written inside of it. So Main Street. E.T. There we go. And a residential road, let's say we want to be a thin line of red. So we want to make it look like that, and we want the label, the name, to appear on top. Okay, so we need a way for the computer to know that's what we want, and for that we need what's either called a style sheet or sometimes just called rules or rules file. And this terminology will change depending on the particular program that we're using, the particular renderer. But usually a style sheet or a rules file will say just like we said, will say, if highway equals primary, then use thick lines, and write name in the center. And if highway equals residential, use thin red lines, etc., etc. Now, we don't have to have that particular rule. We could have a rule that would say, we want Main Street to be a medium blue line. So, and we want it to be filled in. So we'll do that ourselves here. And we want we want cycleways to be in green. So this is some kind of cycleway, and it'll be intersecting here. Okay. Now, the point here is that we could have our data represented any way we want, right? We don't have to have it always have highways that are primary to be big, thick black lines. They could be blue lines or orange lines. They could be thick or thin, where we don't even have to have them show up at all. And that's really an important attribute of OpenStreetMap and of all maps to understand, is that the visual representation of the map is not the map itself. So we have lots of different renderings of OpenStreetMap data, and they're all accurate. They're all accurate in that they all represent the data differently, but it's the same data source. And that's really, from a high level, that's what you need to know about rendering. And we'll go into rendering in another set of videos when I'll dive more deeply into this process and into how we actually create these files and how these rules get processed. But for now, what you need to know is that if you want to make a printed map, you need a renderer and you need a style sheet and data, and that different style sheets and different renderers can take the same data and make it look different. And that's it.